It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Thursday, October 3rd, also known as Brainerd Day around here. Man.
Is it?
Let's head north. What do you say? Well, not right now. Actually, we got a show to do.
All right.
But this afternoon, yeah, you're damn right we're going to Cragen's.
Sure, yeah.
Got to take care of some business first, which is what we call the top 5 at 6. Let's get into it. A quick mention yesterday. Now let's take a moment. A poll of NFL players asked a lot of questions like, hey, where do you most enjoy going for a road game? The number one answer, Los Angeles. That makes sense. You got mountains, you got beaches, you got tacos, you got everything.
But aren't they going to play a football game? What do they go there for, like a week?
They go there for a couple days. They want to feel good. They're going to focus. Come on, let's not grump them out. They're young men. They got money. They got time. They got time to kill.
So what?
But the least likely place, the least liked place, the place they would rather never go again, Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Well, I mean, they just got to get around Green Bay a little bit. There's a good time to be had there.
Well, not for an NFL player, apparently. I don't know why you're ragging these guys, Zep. Come on. I mean, they're young, they're overpaid.
Yeah.
Let them have their fun.
You know, there's a new poll out this morning I saw that they love Taylor Swift, however.
They recognize, game recognizes game. She's a bigger deal than any of them.
I don't know why they work so hard on trying to get me not to watch their damn sport. I mean, God, they really, every year they come up with some piece of BS that makes me think, why am I even bother watching these entitled pricks play a game?
That stuff doesn't bother me, but this does. They were also asked, who is the first non-quarterback you would draft if you were starting a new team? And Tyreek Hill won the players poll. Tyreek Hill, a guy who left Kansas City, and Kansas City won a Super Bowl without him. That's your number one pick? What are you, nuts? Give me a defensive end or an offense or a left tackle, and then let's talk.
Yeah, I guess he gave everybody in Kansas City when he was there on the offense a Rolex watch.
Oh, he did?
After they won their first Super Bowl with Tyreek Hill, he gave them all a Rolex watch. Maybe that's why.
Well, then I take everything back. I
saw that. Well, the offensive line anyway.
I'll vote for him if he's going to give me a six-figure watch. Number 4 on your top 5 at 6. A federal appeals court did not block a lower court's decision that allowed betting on the federal elections. What I'm saying is you can legally gamble on who's going to win, not just the presidency, but pretty much any congressional or Senate seat. You can bet on the elections now in this country.
I'm going to put $1,000 on America to lose.
Wow.
I feel good about this, Matt.
I really didn't want that to be as funny as it is. It's funny because it's true. Truth hurts. Oh, my God. What is wrong with us? Where did we go so wrong? Can we take the rest of the day and just discuss that? Where do you think it went sideways?
Oh, boy. Do you want that in chronological or alphabetical order?
I'm going to take us all the way back to a letter that William Tecumseh Sherman wrote to the city of Atlanta shortly. Never mind. Let's move on.
Willie.
Number 3 on your top 5 at 6. Bally Sports North. Our dear friends, well, they're done. Gig on. The Twins, as of right now, don't have a deal with Bally. Bally says without a deal, they're only going to carry the Atlanta Braves next year.
All right.
Great.
But still the Wild, though, right?
They got the Wild. They got the Timberwolves. No Twins.
All right. Well, here's to Bally's going all the way under. You know, and I have a very good friend whose son works for Bally's, and she heard me yesterday or the other day bitching about Bally's and the Wild games and all that. It's like, Brian, Chad is. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Tell Chad to get a job in radio.
Man, no kidding. Come on over, Chad. We'll make it easy on you. But as of right now, if you want to watch the Twins next season, as of right now, you better buy a ticket. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They ain't going to be on TV. Well, that's insane.
Somebody's got to make a deal with them, shouldn't they? I don't know.
Man, we got cameras. Let's. Why doesn't KQ broadcast? Let's us just do the Twins games from our phones.
From Target Field.
We'll Facebook stream. We'll live stream them on Facebook.
I'd love to be able
fun
to.
That would be.
Yeah,
it'd be great. We'd all get arrested. It'd be awesome. Number 2 on your top 5 at 6. What if I told you that you could strike a deal to remove the biggest asshole in your life forever? You'd never have to talk to him again. You'd never have to think about them ever again. But all you'd have to do is sign a piece of paper that pays you $400 million.
Everyone on the show looked at me immediately when you said that. I mean, just like a laser target right on me. What are you talking about,
I'm
Steve?
talking about the fact that Pink Floyd is going to sell its catalog now officially to Sony Music for $400 million, which means David Gilmour and Roger Waters, who are each other's biggest a-hole, will never have to talk again.
Oh.
And they're getting paid 10 figures each for that right.
Well, let me be the first to welcome Pink Floyd to the machine.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow. First things first, Shakopee, good morning.
Yes, Shakopee.
Yeah, come on, Shakopee.
All sorts. You got Valley Fair down there.
Yeah,
What
you
else
do.
in Shakopee?
I feel like we don't get a shout out to Turtles in Shakopee.
Oh, Turtles, yeah.
Turtles is great.
It's been a while since I've been to Turtles. Last time I was in Turtles, I was asked to step out in the parking lot and not come back in for the rest of the night.
So obviously Turtles is not what I thought of, which is a record chain, like a record store called Turtles from 40 years ago.
No, it's kind of classy joint that if you overserve yourself, they'll ask you to step outside. No, I think I stood up on one of the tables one night during a happy hour, but I've since been back.
That kind of vibe.
Looks like Zepp overserved himself at the vodka trough again. Number one on your top 5 at 6. It is time to start stockpiling all those leaves falling from your trees because toilet paper shortages are raging across America. There is a major port strike on Tuesday. Several of the biggest ports have, the longshoremen, the stevedores, they're all going on strike. And folks apparently got word that means there'll be no more toilet paper. Better stock up. No. Most toilet paper, over 90%, comes from domestic factories. It's not coming to you via ship. It's coming to you from Kansas or South Dakota or somewhere else.
Is that what we're still making here in America?
We're
TP?
still. You're damn straight we are, Jack.
All right.
The port strike very well might get in the way of your banana intake.
What?
That's kind of a drag. Good thing I bought some this week at Costco.
$4.5 billion a day. That's what the port strike is costing American productivity or companies. That's what I read this morning. $4.5 billion a day. By the way, out of Hollywood Central Casting, this is the head of the Longshoremen Union, Harold Daggett.
Now you start to realize who the longshoremen are, right? People never gave a about us until now, when they finally realized that the chain is being broke now.
Daggett.
Oh, boy.
You don't give a God about it. He sounds like a longshoreman union.
Now they're realizing why they don't want to know anything else about us. Oh, there's your top 5 at 6. We got to talk a little bit more. We got a surfer. We got a shark. We've got all kinds of juicy action. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Paradise City, Guns N' Roses. That's the first song Guns N' Roses ever wrote as a group. The 5 guys in a room getting it together. I think there's going to be a good band. And then they were playing some covers. And then somebody had one idea. Someone else threw a thing in. And that's the first song they ever put together as a band. And it makes me think about January 9th, 2023.
Okay.
Our first day working together. It was like our Paradise City. It's exactly what it was like. Go back and listen to the tapes. It's every bit as good as Appetite for Destruction.
We're still writing our own tunes. Well, Tony writes them for us.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to have one. You got to have a ringer.
Yeah, right, exactly. We're just the studio musicians around here.
You're damn straight we are, and we're happy to be so. Gnarly Hayjack. That's not a condition of your liver. It's not a move on a skateboard. It's a surfer. Charlie Gnarly Hayjack. He's a 62-year-old surfing legend. He's down in Florida, New Smyrna Beach. My man basically surfs for a living. He tapped out. He's like one of those ski bums. He's a surf bum. He's never done anything else. He's won 18 East Coast surf championships. He runs a local youth surf series. Yeah. His entire adult existence has been surfing, as was his childhood existence. Last week, 2 hours on the water, he decides to come in. He's paddling to shore, and he was in knee-deep water, and he stepped off the board right on top of a fish. It was not any kind of fish. It was a shark. And we'll let Gnarly tell you what happened.
And all those little teeth, you couldn't see them. They were perfect little slices in my leg. Every one of them just opened up like a flower and blew blood out, man. It was so gnarly. By the time I even thought twice about it, it just, bam, it lit me up, man. I felt like I stuck my foot in a light socket.
When you get out there, do you ever fear for your life?
Well, Sue, I'll tell you, surfing's not a sport. It's a way of life, no hobby.
It's a way of looking at that wave and saying, hey, bud, let's party.
We have found Jeff Spicoli. He is alive and well, and his name is Charlie Gnarly Hayjack.
Yeah, and if you're imagining, picturing Gnarly Charlie in your mind, yeah, you nailed it. You got it right. Blonde hair, scruffy.
Really? No shirt?
The tan that goes like all the way down to the bone.
Charlie gave a lengthy interview with Outside Magazine. He said, I see 5 sharks every day I surf, man. They're harmless. That's his quote. They're harmless. Yeah. He's in the hospital, laid up. The thing ripped his calf open. He's got a ton of stitches. He said they're harmless. He goes, they are harmless. Well, until you step on one. Then you're going to get lit up again. Lit up. And he goes, I see the same sharks all the time. I give them all names. This one, I call him Barney because he did a silly thing. He bit me. Those are real quotes. Oh, wow. I love this guy.
Yeah, exactly. He's getting away with it, isn't he? The rest of us are stressing out about where don't NFL players like to play? He
has been, by the way, he's been tracking all of his surf days on paper calendars with a pen since 1982, the year Fast Times at Ridgemont High was released.
What the?
Hold on.
Dude.
The day he surfs, there's a big smiley face on every calendar page. The days he doesn't surf stays blank. And by the way, another quote, I'm butthurt, man. This was my longest streak ever, 148 days. Now I got to start over. He had not missed a day of surf since sometime in April.
Wow. Gnarly, you've got yourself a shark bite on your leg. You've completed the journey. Not completed the journey, but you've come full circle now. You've got to have that. You got Gnarly Charlie, the ultimate surfer, has to be able to throw his leg up on the table at the bar and say, yeah, that's where the shark got me. Yeah. By the way, glad that Barney was just a youngin'. 4 or 5 footer because it was in fact a bull shark.
Oh, that'll hurt you bad if it gets full size.
Yeah, the bull shark, that's number 1 on Shark Week, you know. Everybody thinks about the great white or the oceanic white tip or the tiger shark. No, number 1 for just effing people up, close to shore especially, would be the bull shark. But he ran into a little baby Barney bull shark.
On a beach in Florida, not far from New Smyrna, probably 15 years ago with the family, and I looked to my left, north, I'm facing east, looking at the ocean. I looked left, and it's a very uncrowded day on the beach, and I see a guy running down the beach, but he's not like a jogger. He's running and he's kind of out of wind and he's got his hands up to his mouth and he's yelling and I'm like, what is he saying? And he's going, shark, shark. And as he gets closer, the Doppler effect brings it a little louder. Yeah. And then someone else sitting to my left jumps up and waves him and says, I got it now. Then that guy starts running. It was like a relay. Like the protocol is everybody runs 100 yards and then they're out of breath and then the next guy takes it. And he was just going all the way down. And the guy that ran past me, the second shark screamer who ran past me, giving his Paul Revere midnight ride, right completely run along him, 4 feet out from the sand was a big dorsal fin. It was a bull shark, a big one. And it was swimming it was like the shark was like, I'm going to see if I can make some guys run. And he was just swimming at the same pace the guy was running. So not that fast for a shark. Yeah. And then another guy picked it up. And then I looked to my right and about 300 yards down, there was just a group of 20 people in the water.
Holy.
And then all of a sudden it's like everybody you saw this wave of, oh crap, this panic. And then once one of those people picked up what was happening, it was like the scene in Jaws. They all came flying out of the water.
Hell yeah.
And that was just one of those moments. And I'm like, kids want to get in the water now? And we're like, we're going to go back to the room and stare at the water from the balcony 100 yards offshore.
Should be a beach job, a runner, a shark runner. Give him a megaphone.
Yeah, it didn't even occur. I've never even thought about it till right now. There was obviously no lifeguards. These were just people taking the job on themselves.
Yeah, this summer I went down a little vacay in the Florida area there and ended up at Hilton Head where there weren't a lot of people swimming and all these white boats with blue lights flashing on top. And somebody goes, well, that's Shark Patrol. A shark washed up on the beach here, a big bull washed up on the shore just a couple of days ago, and they've had just some bull sharks running around here. So no one's going in. The boats are just whipping back and forth out there and swimming with bow-legged women.
Crap, the sharks are on the loose.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. I think this is a perfectly fine time to take a look back. On this day in 1920, this is kind of a big deal. The first ever NFL game took place. The Dayton Triangles defeated those pesky Columbus Panhandles.
Oh, the posers.
Later in the day, second game of the league's history, the Rock Island Independents crushed the Muncie Flyers 45-0.
A little fun fact, in 1920, Muncie voted by the NFL players as the least favorite city they want to rock and roll in.
They never wanted to go there.
Not to Muncie.
That's why we always, around here, we call Green Bay the Muncie of Wisconsin.
I like that.
4 teams from that first season in 1920 made it to the merger of the two leagues in 1970. The Decatur Staleys changed into the Chicago Bears. The Akron Pros, P-R-O-S, became the Packers, the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, really?
The Chicago Cardinals, of course, became the St. Louis and then later Arizona Cardinals. And then the Detroit Heralds became, at first, the Detroit Tigers.
Oh.
There was a baseball team and a football team called the Tigers.
Sure, well, yeah.
And
then
then
St. Louis.
Yep, St. Louis had
St. Louis,
Cardinals and Cardinals. Then they were the Portsmouth Spartans, and finally the Detroit Lions. And last I checked, they pretty much always suck. Sorry, Ryder.
And then those pussies started wearing face masks.
Yeah, that's it. On this day in 1995, a monster movie happened in reality when O.J. Simpson was freed to be a member of society again.
Yeah.
The Juice, after murdering 2 people, walked out of a courtroom on this day and said, yeah, man, by the way, the verdict coverage, when that was announced not guilty, at that moment in time, the most watched event in the history of the United States, 150 million people were watching that. And they were watching it all over the world. In fact, that story really did. It wasn't about football in the rest of the world. It was just about, look at what's happening in America over there. This is crazy.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
There it is. You saw it for your own. With your own eyes, you saw the glove did not fit.
I watched the open. I remember the day the verdict was read. I remember the opening arguments, day one of the trial, watching it live. Mm-hmm. I was on tour in Europe, and I'm watching it in a hotel room, and I watched Christopher Darden give the opening, and I went, he's going to get off. Yeah. The defense attorneys were so good at that job, and the public prosecutors, the stuttering and a lot of ums, and it was like someone gave the defense guys a script. Like, hey, we just got this from the guy that wrote West Wing. Aaron Sorkin wrote your lines, and then they looked at Marcia Clark and Chris Darden and went, "Here, put some marbles in your mouth." It was just like, this is not going to go well.
Remember the gasp of just an unbelievable courtroom? Neither do I. They were cheering.
Yeah.
A lot of people cheering.
There was. Well, it's the weird case where you can make a strong case that the police tried to frame a guy, and he also did happen to kill 2 people heinously. Fascinating, isn't it?
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. You're listening to the KQ Morning Show. Steve, Zep, Tony, and Ryder on 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Good Thursday morning. October 3rd, that's Brainerd Day, ladies and gentlemen. We're heading up north today, and we're looking very forward to that. We're going to get away from the city. We're going to get away from the lights at night that keep you from seeing all the nice stars. We're going to be out there on Gull Lake. It's going to be beautiful. Hopefully we get some clear skies. We're going to look up and stargaze, and maybe, just maybe, we'll see some UFOs.
Oh, so
I'll be looking.
It's vodka then. I'm drinking.
Okay, vodka? Okay,
right,
does that help?
Well, beer, I don't usually see too many UFOs, but I get the vodka going, and they'll come. Those little aliens will come right up and kiss me on the cheek. 23%
of Americans in poll after poll, almost a fourth of us say we've seen a UFO. Yeah. Almost a quarter of us. Yeah. There's 4 of us here in this room, and I know one of us has seen a UFO for sure.
See, that makes sense.
So that kind of does check out.
Just the other day, I saw something flying around up there. I had no idea what it was. It was unidentified.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Describe.
It was just some sort of plane, I guess. I don't know exactly
what it was.
Oh, I got the app now. Trust me. Just point out the plane. I'll tell you what it is.
Here it is. New Jersey last year. You guys remember this when that alien ship came flying?
Oh, my God.
Look, the whole street is stopped. There's a flying spaceship. Yo, look at that. Click everybody to the highway right now. I don't know, bro.
Bro, everybody's stopping and looking, stopping their cars.
Yeah, it said Goodyear on the side of it.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was a Goodyear blimp.
There's a city in California where they recognize the city bird is the Goodyear blimp. I guess that's where it lands and stuff.
Isn't it redundant to say a flying spaceship?
I think it might be.
Could be like one on the open sea.
Could just be dropping.
Right.
Dropping spaceship. Have you ever seen a UFO? 651-989-ROCK is the KQ Talking text line. Curious to get your stories if you got one. What did you see? What chemicals were coursing through your bloodstream at the time you saw this, if any? And do you think that aliens are really involved here? Because a lot of Americans certainly do think that's the case. 30% of us say within 50 years there will be alien contact. And a lot of people say, what do you mean within? You mean that we'll know about? Because just as many Americans think it's already happening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I saw They Live with Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
I love They Live.
Yeah, it's the greatest fight scene of all time. It's like 31-minute long barroom back alley fight.
One of the greatest documentaries about alien life.
Yeah,
and UFOs.
Totally concur.
Never been shot.
But there's an awful lot of people that are fully convinced that when you look up in the sky and you see a bunch of lights doing things that you cannot explain, that must mean alien life. Tony Lee, I come to you with this.
Okay.
What's the actual number of sightings that you would say defy explanation?
That I've had personally?
That you've had personally?
Oh, at least 10.
Yeah, I mean,
10
you're
to
that
20.
guy. You're the guy.
Well, I'm obsessed with that, so I'm always on the hunt.
You are looking out for more, but you have seen some very seriously, quite clearly things that defy our understanding of physics.
Unexplainable, yes.
Yeah. Like?
Yes. Just the speed and the movement and the odd structure. And it just hits my heart.
Well, Aaron Rodgers, you and Aaron Rodgers, here he is talking about.
I heard this sound and we saw this tremendously large object moving through the sky. And it was like a scene out of Independence Day when the ships are coming into the atmosphere and they're creating this like kind of explosion type fire in the sky.
Why do they always have to have the scary music behind it?
And a nice produced piece.
Aaron, get a cup of coffee before you give that interview. Oh my God, he's falling asleep.
He's always monotone.
The most amazing thing I've ever seen. I don't think I can say I've seen like a classic. That must be a spaceship. There's no other explanation. But I know several people who have, and people who's like Tony, who I appreciate and respect your taste in music and film and books, and I appreciate your sense of humor, and I think you're a bright guy, and I believe anything you tell me, and you're one of a few people I know that I believe. I'm not. This isn't setting me up to go like, you're an idiot. No, I'm saying I would love to see one of these objects that moves at speeds that make no sense and goes in directions that shouldn't be allowed, because I do believe that you've seen them.
I think once you're open to it, then you're more apt to have the vision and the sightings.
Well, the number one city in America for UFO sightings is Phoenix, and what they're open to is a lot of methamphetamine out there. So maybe that's what I'm missing.
The Phoenix Lights, March of I think it was 1997. That was one of the most famous cases ever.
Yeah,
a lot of retirees out there too.
Awful lot of retirees out there.
Say, it's here's what I don't care if I see UFOs or not. I mean, it would be kind of cool, I suppose. But I just want to see. I want to see it happen. I want to see Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I want to see them land, and that's it. I'm done.
No, that's all.
The writer gave me the shut up.
Oh.
No, I wanted to check it.
And that's it.
Well, no.
I was pointing at the phone. I want to check in with Mark. Says he spotted one.
But you used your middle finger.
Mark, good morning.
Good morning.
Let's hear your story, brother.
Yeah, when we were kids, about 8 or 9, we were playing hide and go seek. There were about 10 of us. And the 2 of us were out and about looking, and we look up and we see this thing come down, and it just hovered there. No sound, nothing. Tons of different lights. And it just hovered there for about 3 seconds and shot right back out to space within a quarter second to nothing. And it's about the size of 3 to 4 Goodyear blimps.
And where were you when you saw this?
Brooklyn Center, right off of 252.
And so you were with some friends that saw the same thing?
Yeah.
What'd your parents say? Did they believe you?
No, of course not.
Really?
Yeah, They thought, no way. Because, back then there was Goodyear blimps floating around every once in a while, but this thing was way, way bigger than that.
Okay, so but you were not taken aboard. There was no sort of examination or probing happening. All right, good news.
No,
Do you take
I
that
wish,
person?
but it didn't happen.
Right, exactly. I mean, what if you see a UFO and you don't get probed? Are you like, what's wrong with me?
Oh, shit, I got turned down.
Yeah, that's the rejection. That's
give you
difficult.
a complex.
It's tough enough from it's tough
Even
enough from
space,
humans.
damn it.
Right.
Thanks, Mark. We appreciate the call. At least you had buddies with you. I mean, I'm trying to think. When I was a kid, when I was 8 years old, if I had walked into my house with two of my friends and looked at my mom and dad and was like, and explained what I saw, I really think my dad's reaction would have been, "You need to take a bath and go to bed." Like, he just wouldn't have given me the time of day about a UFO.
The first and most significant sighting I had, my dad did that. He went, "Well, I just turned the porch light off." Yeah, that was it. That's what I mistook it for.
Yeah, my dad would get mad at me. What are you looking up for? The dirt is down. That's where you're supposed to be digging and planting right there. Looking up in the sky.
I read an article
up there.
I read an article like a month ago and talked about how Minnesota is one of the least reported for states, number of people, percentage-wise, people who report sightings. It's very low on the list. Mm-hmm. And they attribute that to people in Minnesota like, "Oh, you're just, no, stop." I mean, there's like there's a sensibility that people like you said, like, what are you looking in the sky for? Just get on. People like, no one's going to believe me. There's a sense of, I saw something crazy. Yeah. No one will believe it. I probably bumped my head. I mean, people talk themselves out maybe. That's just the theory anyway.
Well, the sightings are more common when there's mountain ranges and oceans.
Sure. Yeah, well, those aliens know what they're doing.
Sure they do.
Well, it's to be fair, I like to play the kooks audio. Navy test pilot a couple of years ago in front of Congress.
How do you know that these were not our aircraft?
Some of the behaviors that we saw in a working area, we would see these objects being at 0.0 Mach, that's zero airspeed, over certain pieces of the ground. So what that means, just like a river, if you throw a bobber in, it's going to float downstream. These objects were staying completely stationary in Category 4 hurricane winds. These same objects would then accelerate to supersonic speeds, 1.1, 1.2 Mach, and they would do so in very erratic and quick behaviors.
What is that from, the X-Files?
The X-Files. Yeah. Navy pilot testifying in front of Congress a couple of years ago.
Yeah. All right. I'm down. This is on the text line. Text came in. It says, "I worked for a Native American tribe in law enforcement. We were doing a sweat lodge for inmates at the detention center. It was 4 o'clock in the morning, and we all saw this bright thing in the sky. It was zipping around and changing directions lightning quick."
A sweat lodge for inmates.
You're going to see a lot of things.
You're focusing on the wrong part there. They saw some aliens.
What the hell are we doing with sweat lodge for inmates? Is that right after the aromatherapy and then they go get their face mask on and a nice rub? Yeah.
Nice rub. I want to give everybody over in Dayton, Minnesota. Here, we're thinking of you today. Hope you're having a fine day. Dayton, Minnesota. I know Dayton for one thing, and that's the Brianna Scurry Park, the goalkeeper for the U.S. women's national team for years. There's a park named after her, which is great. I'm a soccer guy. I love these things.
Can't get into the park. Just completely blocked off. Just try, you got to try and cut the corner. I don't even know where I was going with that.
No, I like that.
That's UFO territory up there, Dayton.
Got to cut the angles. Got to cut the angles, baby. You know that's how that works.
Let's try it.
Oh, UFOs, 651-989-ROCK. Let us know. By the way, there is a couple of stories we want to share with you about some intensely high speeds. One up in space and another right down here in Minnesota. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line, 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Thursday, October 3rd. Unidentified flying objects. What are they? Where are they from? What do they want with us? We're talking about UFOs. There's been a lot of sightings. A fourth of our fellow Americans say they've seen them. They believe. And we got a few people on the horn who've got a story to share. 651-989-ROCK is the KQ Talk and Text line. Who's up first?
We do have a trio of fellow believers. I think one of them dropped off, but there's Linda from Forest Lake.
Linda from Forest Lake right now.
Okay.
All right. Linda, good morning.
Good morning.
What do you got for us, Linda? First things first, favorite band?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Who's your favorite band?
Oh, I got to go with, it depends on the day, but Van Morrison.
Ooh, that works.
Yeah,
Van
good
always
skill.
works.
And the man.
Favorite team, any sport?
Oh, I'm a baseball fan. I like Twins.
Nice. I'll take it.
I like Twins, too.
All right, Linda, what do you got for us?
Well, it was back in the late 70s, and there was 2 episodes, and we are in Scandia, Minnesota, small town.
Mm-hmm.
I was like 10 years old, but there were several people in Scandia that had seen it. There were cars that would drive down the road, and this light above it, and their radios would go out. I even made it on the news as a 10-year-old kid that seen a UFO.
Cool.
It was light and so silent, and it was there for a moment, and then it was gone in a flash.
Wow. All right. So how many people actually saw it?
Well, the one time it was me.
Uh-huh.
The other time I was sliding with a bunch of friends, so there was about 5 of us. Back in the day when we got a lot of snow and we could slide.
Yeah, and everybody saw the same thing, though. Like, everybody agreed that they were all looking and describing it the same way.
Absolutely. Yep.
Fair enough.
And there were several of us that Karen Boris was a news anchor at the time, and she came and interviewed all of us, and we all had the same experience.
If you could just speculate, what do you think the aliens were? Why do you think they were interested in Scandia? I mean,
well, it's God's country.
Yeah. That's just nice. Maybe just scoping it out for looking for some acreage, a little land investment.
It's God's country. Those were actually angels. They were coming down to check it out.
They were. Yeah. I think they were angels. Absolutely.
I like that. All right, Linda, thank you for the call. Appreciate it. Who else we got on the horn?
Dave from Andover and Mike from Champlin.
All right, let's go to Dave. Good morning, Dave. Dave-o.
Mike's here.
Mike's here.
Mike. Oh, I always call Dave Mike. I get it backwards. Hey, Mike, how are you, brother?
Good. How are you doing?
What's your favorite band, Mike?
Oh, I'm going to go with the Beatles.
That'll work. Favorite team, any sport?
I'm going to go with the Vikings.
Attaboy. I like it. Beatles are undefeated, and right now so are the Vikings. All right. What do you got for us, Dave?
I
Mike?
got a story.
Excuse me, Mike.
This happened in Coon Rapids, the city I grew up in. It was around 1979, somewhere near 80. And we were off Egret Boulevard, and that was a big sand pit out there. And there was no development houses or nothing. We were out there listening to, matter of fact, Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band.
Okay.
And we were out there having a good time, and I noticed out of the northwest, I said, look, what is that out there? And everybody just ignored me, and they said, it's nothing. And I said, you sure? Well, within time, it took time, but it started coming towards us. And I said, look at the 2 bright lights. I said, what is that? And they said, I don't know. So as it came over, it was probably a city block long in height, above us. And it was black triangle, and it had 2 bright lights on the bottom, but they didn't illuminate on the ground. That was so weird. So all my buddies were up on top of the car lighting their lighters, saying, we speak your lingo. You could see it plain as day. So I panicked, and I said, Larry, you got to get me home. So I get home. I'm probably about half mile from the location. I called the police department, reported it, because I know what I saw. And we all seen it. Like I said, 20 plus of us out there. Well, about a half hour later, my mom comes down in my bedroom and says, there's 3 police officers outside who want to talk to you. I said, about what? She said, I don't know. They won't tell me. So I went out there, and they had asked me to step outside, and they said, what did you see? And I told them. What direction did it come from? And he said, it came right over the police department. We were in the parking lot. We witnessed it, too.
Wow.
And it was crazy. And then 2 days later, I was at work, and my mom said somebody from the Air Force called me and wanted to talk to me about it. And they said they'd call back. They never did.
It was a job opening.
Yeah.
To this day, the guys that I was with out there, even after it happened, they would not talk about it.
Oh, they were all excited with their
never
lighters
bring it
and
up.
everything, yeah.
That's all pretty darn fascinating, Mike. Good Lord. All
yeah,
right.
I wish we would have the technology as we do now with the cell phones with the video.
Yeah.
But I know what I saw. We all know what we saw, and it wasn't very high up in the air, I'll tell you that. It was not the mothership, but it was pretty good size. And I don't know what it was scanning and looking for, but it was real.
Was it silent?
Yes. Then never heard. That's what I told the guy. Shut off the radio. Listen. There was no sound. And it didn't move that fast. That's the thing that I don't know how it stayed up in the air.
Do you think it was silent because it wanted to stay undetected, probably?
But anyway, that's my crazy story.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us, Mike. Have a good day, brother.
Cool.
Yeah, you too.
I do like the stories of multiple people when it's just one guy or one gal that says, "Oh, I looked up and saw it." But on the text line and different things we've heard from, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, it was me and friends." There's always the groups of people. It's kind of hard to because people's stories crack over time, and when people are just sticking to the same story, you got to start to wonder.
I just wonder why they don't expose themselves. All right, you've been caught so many times. It's like just finally getting caught sneaking over to your neighbor's house and banging their wife. Okay. And then finally they're like, you just admit it. Okay, yeah, I'm banging your wife. Okay. I'm just saying, we've caught you so many times spying on us. Right. Just, come on and say hi. How rude. At this point, I don't even want to meet them. They just sound like douchebags.
Well, we can't understand the motivations of the United States Air Force because I think this is all them.
Oh.
That's what they say, the black triangles with the three lights. Something called TRB-3. Those are man-made. Those are ours.
Oh, really?
Possibly.
I thought I was inventing a whole new conspiracy theory. I guess I'm late to the game.
There's both. There's ours and theirs.
Man.
Spying on the kids up in Coon Rapids.
651-989 Rock. A lot of texts coming in. Speaking of space and flying objects, here's one of ours, Tony. It's called the Parker Solar Probe. NASA... Watch yourself. Yes. Get your mind out of the gutter. The Parker Solar Probe and Lube. No, Probe. It was launched by NASA in 2018 to study the sun. After a 6-year journey and multiple gravity assists from Venus, I guess that you get into gravity and you do the whip around thing and it speeds you up and you start speeding up and down and speeding all over the solar system. The engineers have calculated that by the end of December of this year, the Parker Solar Probe will be traveling 119 miles per second.
That's clipping along.
1,001. I can't even
Boom,
fathom
I'm in
that.
Duluth, 101 or 1,001. Boom, in Duluth.
You get to Miami in a matter of seconds. I mean, it makes no sense to me. Like 119 miles in a second.
Why bother with a window seat?
That's
just be a blur.
Yeah, so it's over before you know it.
Because you're in the universe and it's still going to take you, I don't know, about 20 years to get there.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, man.
Yeah, I saw 92 million miles to go.
All this stuff, I get, there's always these, when you talk about numbers, some people it makes perfect sense to me. Yeah. Anything after, like 10,000, I just lose, to me, 17,000 and 37,000 are kind of the same, even though I know intellectually that's not true. But just the way my imaging goes, my brain, the thing of you can count to 1 million, one number per second. It takes 9 days, I think. Yeah. To count to 1 billion takes 31 years. That's the difference between 1 million and 1 billion. I know that, but I don't process it. There's an image I saw the other day, the biggest star that's ever been discovered in the Milky Way, in the solar system. It's millions of light years away, but there's a star that is it's 1 billion times the size of planet Earth.
Right.
Or more so even, more. And I just think
large Marge, they call it.
Yeah, and it's exactly right. And I look at myself and I think, so you're telling me that in my thumbnail there could be a whole other universe? Oh my God! I mean, I just feel when I read this stuff, I think I'm stoned. That's where it goes in my brain. I don't need weed. Just give me space facts.
Right, exactly.
And I am stoned to the gills on this stuff.
We have no proportion. No, we have no experience with it. These things are unfathomable. Blah, 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 blah.
They certainly are to me. A little closer to Earth and a speed we can understand. Let's talk about 113 miles per hour. Not miles per second, but miles per hour. We've all probably at least come close. We've all done 100. I think everybody, once in your life, you got to get into triple digits in a vehicle. I mean, I think that's a rite of passage in a certain way. But when it happens and you don't want it to happen, that's pretty scary. Harwood, a small town about 10 miles north of Fargo, was the scene a couple of weeks ago. A kid named Sam Dutcher, he's 18 years old. He's driving an SUV, a Honda SUV, and it starts to accelerate uncontrollably, meaning no matter what he did, the brakes weren't working, the gas was going, he could not slow his car down. Along the way, he's driving, thankfully in a fairly rural area. He hits up to 113 miles an hour. He's making phone calls, 911. He's like, yo, I'm in trouble. Calls his mom. This is a terrifying thing. We have a little bit of the audio from a news report explaining what young Sam Dutcher went through.
Dutcher called 911, reporting his Honda Pilot was speeding up uncontrollably.
If you hit the brakes, nothing happens.
Even calling his mom in these harrowing moments.
Honestly, I was like, my kid's probably dead, but I was like, God, please don't kill my kid. Please don't.
State Patrol Trooper Zach Groover and Clay County deputies tried spike strips.
Did the tires get popped?
But failed.
Yeah, I'll try to get in front of you and add a little extra brake power.
Eventually, getting in front of Dutcher. Trooper Groover reaching 130 miles per hour.
Yes, run into the back of his car.
Using their squads to physically stop the SUV.
Hold them.
A more than 30-mile ride, ending in about 20 minutes. With everyone okay.
It's scary to watch that video.
That's a proud Clay County Sheriff, Mark Empting.
We don't train for something like this, but instincts took over and everybody did a fantastic job.
Can I hug you?
Oh, Mark, giving the trooper a hug.
So Trooper races past the kid. He's doing 130 to catch him and get in front of him, and then he starts to slow down. And the only way they could get that car over to the side of the road, he hits the back of the trooper. And, the cars make contact, and then the trooper brakes and gets him pulled over. This whole thing is so confusing.
Yeah.
I've never been in this situation, so I'm not judging by any stretch. My questions are, could you not put the car in neutral?
Well, because it's not the old manuals, that we grew up with. I think there's probably a locking mechanism where you can't take it out of drive when she's pinned, but don't ask me. I'm no mechanic by a long shot. I'm going to try and drop the truck into neutral when I'm whipping down the road. When I'm heading up to Brainerd.
State Patrol Trooper on the scene, the guy who drove up, Zach Groover. Trooper Groover. That sounds like a Muppet. That sounds like the stoned cop Muppet. Trooper Groover.
Oh, is it MacGruber? MacGruber?
I wish it were. MacGruber solved that one. He pulled right around in front.
Right.
I cannot imagine what it would feel like to be in a car that you can't slow down. But the phone call, he calls, he's like, hey, yeah, I'm trying to... He sounded very calm.
Yeah.
This kid. But this is that's a pretty terrifying ordeal. I got to appreciate the fact that it's kind of a miracle, actually. 20 minutes of this and nobody was hurt.
And it's so very rare. I was just doing a little Googling. There aren't many examples at all of cars just uncontrollably speeding up to the max, full throttle, and not being able to brake. There have been, you and I were even talking about it off the air a little bit, there have been some examples in the past of this happening, and it turns out it wasn't perhaps maybe a mechanical error as it was some human error or some other circumstances involved as well. But yeah, frightening. And I mean, he was flying through these small towns. Thank God it was late at night. And there weren't a lot of people out on the streets in these towns and this sort of thing, because, you saw it from the trooper cam video. This kid, obviously cooking over 110 miles an hour through little downtowns.
And by the way, a Honda Pilot, not really built to be going that fast.
No, I did have to check. I'm like, it's got to be a V6. You can't get a V4 going over 100 miles an hour like that. But it's got yourself a 3.5 liter V6 in there, so definitely can reach those speeds. But all is well that ends well, especially after they hit those spike strips.
Yeah.
Now you're on flat tires. I would think that thing might roll.
Well, we're gonna see what happens when you're traveling at a high speed and you put your car into neutral on our way to Cragun's today.
Test out the new KQ vehicle.
KQ up north with Hoffman Rubber Construction starts today at Cragun's Resort on Gull Lake. Sponsored Hoffman Rubber Construction, Cragun's, good people all around. We're looking very forward to it. Tomorrow at this very time, when you're listening to this very show, we'll be sitting up there with a bunch of listeners. Probably a cocktail or two. Let's just call it what it is.
Bar opens at 8.
Yeah, the bar opens at 8. So there you have it. Looking very forward to that. Can't wait to see everybody that's going to be up there with us for the next few days. Jeff Dunham is going to be with us in April at the Target Center. We've got tickets to see Jeff Dunham. You're probably going to want to hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. You're listening to the KQ Morning Show. Steve, Zep, Tony, and Ryder. on 92 KQRS.
Jeff Dunham, very funny gentleman, will be at the Target Center April 10th. We've got second row seats, tickets to see Jeff Dunham, and we'd love to give them away to a listener. So right now we need a couple people to phone in. We need to play a game. 651-989-ROCK, callers 9 and 2. 651-989-ROCK, callers 9 and 2 will be on board for a game to win those Jeff Dunham tickets. Get on the horn. Why don't you?
Yeah, why don't you?
I mean, come on, get on it.
Games people play.
Yeah, man. And we've been talking about UFOs this morning, which is something I you know, and every time if this comes up, either, you know, here or otherwise, I think to myself, yeah, I'm ready to see that. I'd like to see it. I also, I'm the same guy who once said, I'd like to feel a little earthquake once. And then I felt one and it traumatized me for weeks. So I am careful what I wish for. But, you know, we're heading up to Brainerd today. We're going to be up at Cragen's on Gull Lake for a few days. And, you know, the night sky up there, a little darker than it is in the cities. Not as much light pollution or whatever you want to call it. You know, I'm just throwing it out there to the universe. If you guys are going to be cruising around in a big black triangle thing with lights and hyperspeed and going up and down and loop-de-looping all over, I'll take a look. Let's go.
What was that shot you brought up yesterday, Ryder? Maybe after a couple of those. What was it? The fire slap?
Yeah, I think we called it a fire puck.
That's right, the old fire puck. That was the Fireball, Tabasco, and Rumplemints shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
It was the grossest combination I could think of.
That would put an instant hole right in your stomach.
I could see there being a fire pit and then some fire pucks going down.
Yeah, and then that's when the aliens came up.
That's exactly right.
How did Hunter say it? And then the bats said it just outside of Barstow. The bats came or whatever.
You never know. You add Rumplemints to the party, and just anything can go sideways, and usually does right away.
Right away.
That's how that goes.
Doesn't take long.
We have got a couple people who are interested in winning some Jeff Dunham tickets. Tony, what are we going to ask of our dear listeners today?
Well, we're going to ask them to guess. That seems pretty easy. And this is one we played before, and it was a lot of fun. We're going to rev it up again. What'd you call me? Yeah, you know, a nickname stays with you like a tattoo, but can elevate you to legendary status if you're in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So here's your chance to guess at some NFL players' nicknames. What'd you call me? NFL nicknames. You know, I'm bummed. Jack was holding for a long time, and he had an alien story about an actual encounter with an actual alien.
Oh, really?
So I was so looking forward to that.
Well, I guess they got to him.
Yes, they did.
Wow. Jack,
Don't laugh.
Jack, if you want to call back, you know, if you got an actual alien encounter, man, I'm all for it. Make no mistake.
We always have time for public sex and alien encounters.
That's exactly. Thank you. Thank you, Ryder. By the way, and we've got
exist.
The text line has just blown up. I said before 23% of Americans say they've seen UFOs. Apparently 93% of KQ listeners have seen UFOs based on the number of texts that have come in. So we're going to get around to
So
those.
what you're saying is we can dumb down the show.
How dare you?
No.
Hey, I believe they're out there. I'm just pissed at them. I'm like you said, you've been caught. We saw you. Come on out from behind the corner. We see you back there.
It would be great if a ship landed and the guy came out and the military's there and the whole world media is like, oh my God, and the guy steps out and he's like, we're just messing around.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, what's the problem? You know, they're not going to be scary. They're going to be little furry bunnies. I just picture little furry bunny rabbits flying spaceships.
Ewoks.
We're from Planet Bunny. All right, who we got? Let's get back to this game, Tony. Who's contestant number one?
First up is our buddy Frank from St. Paul.
Frank, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Frank, give me your favorite band.
Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble.
Nice. Give me your favorite team, any sport.
Minnesota Vikings.
Attaboy. All right, we're off to London. Gonna beat those Jets like a red-headed stepchild on Sunday morning. I hope so too. All right, Frank. Good luck. Tony's gonna take it away from here.
All right, Frank. Your first player, and you have to guess at his NFL nickname. First player is Albert Woods. Played for the Cincinnati Bengals, running back. Was his nickname A, Flypaper, B, Tubby, or C, Icky?
I'm going to go with A.
I am sorry. It was Icky Woods.
Not familiar with the shuffle.
Icky Shuffle.
The Icky Shuffle was all the rage.
He was at a TV commercial, too, after that. He was in the store going to get some cold cuts. Going to get some cold cuts. You remember that?
Yeah.
He's with the Icky Shuffle in the store.
I never wanted to see anyone get injured doing a celebration anymore in my life, of course.
Yes.
I was a Steelers fan. He did that in the Pittsburgh end zone a few times.
All right, Frank, let's get back on the horse.
Number 2 was Walter Payton, Chicago Bears legendary running back. Was his nickname A, Salt Lick, B, Sweetness, or C, Tangy?
I'm going to go with a B.
Now you're
Correct.
talking.
Sweetness.
You almost broke. I could hear Tony almost laughing on Salt Lick.
It happens. Number 3, Joe Namath, New York Jets QB, pantyhose spokesman. Was he known as A, Broadway Joe, B, Snaggletooth, or C, Saucy Joe?
I was Broadway Joe.
That's right.
Publicly, Broadway Joe. Privately, Saucy Joe.
Number 4, Ryder, Calvin Johnson, Detroit Lions wide receiver. Was he known as A, Doobie, B, Crackle Barrel, or C, Megatron?
Megatron.
He was a big lad.
He certainly was. I saw him play in college, and it was truly a SNL skit. A man out on a field with boys. He was unstoppable.
Yeah, he was. All right, your last one, sir. The offensive line for the then Washington Redskins, now Commanders, their nickname was A, the Temp Workers, B, the Hogs, or C, the Napkin Dispensers.
I'm going to go with a B.
Yes, it was the Hogs. Good job, sir.
They did have to change it to the Temp Workers. Hogs being offensive to their fans.
Nice job, Frank.
Is that it for Frank?
Yep, I gave him
4
5.
for 5, brother. Very well played. Frank knows his football. All right, Frank, sit tight. We're going to go on to contestant number 2 right now. Who we got?
From the heart of Roseville, the lovely Barb.
Barb, good morning.
Good morning.
Barb, what's your favorite band?
Oh, Van Halen.
Van Halen, without hesitation. Favorite team, any sport?
I got to go with the Twins.
Yeah, that'll work.
They disappoint, but I love them.
Well, that's the story of so many of our relationships, personal, professional, teams. It's just part of life. I appreciate your understanding of their shortcomings and still loving them. Barb, it's time to play NFL nicknames. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Barbara, number 1, Kenny Stabler, Oakland Raiders quarterback, a lefty. Was his nickname A, Fondue, B, Birthday Cake, or C, Snake?
Oh, I think he was the snake.
He was the snake.
Certainly was.
They would have just played crawling around on his belly. It's weird.
Number 2, Harrison Smith, our very own Vikings defensive back. Is he known as A, Harry the Hitman, B, Harry the Hemorrhage, or C, Hairball Harry?
Oh, boy. I think is probably the Hitman sounds the best, I would guess.
You are correct.
Nice.
Harry the Hitman. Number 3, Jerome Bettis, big old Pittsburgh Steeler running back. Was he known as A, the Bus, B, Zebra Muscle, or C, Tinkerbell?
Got to be the Bus.
He was the Bus.
He certainly
Zebra
was.
muscle, invasive. It was an invasive species.
Barbie, number 4, is Lance Allworth, speedy wide receiver for the San Diego Chargers, Dallas Cowboys. Was his nickname A, Booze Hound, B, Donut Hole, or C, Bambi?
Ooh, I'm a Disney fan, so I'm going with Bambi.
Wow.
Yeah.
He was, because he had a baby face and he ran like a deer. That's why they called him that.
And who did he play for?
The San Diego Chargers and the Cowboys.
Oh, okay, got it.
Got it. File that away.
Make a little note there.
If it comes up at the bar sometime.
Yeah.
Barb, you're 4 for 4. If you get this last one right, you have won these tickets. Good luck.
Wow. Good luck, Barbie. Number 5, Marshawn Lynch. Big old running back. Buffalo Bills and mostly Seattle Seahawks. Was his nickname A, Beast Mode, B, a la Mode, or C, Marshawn the Martian?
Oh, boy. How about Martian the Martian.
Oh, Barbie, I'm sorry.
I love me a good tiebreaker.
I know. It was beast mode.
Beast mode it was. But, 4 for 5 is nothing to sneeze at, Barb.
Damn UFO talk this morning through Barb, I think.
I think it did. All right, so Frank and Barb, both of you went 4 for 5. Very well played. What that means is there's a tiebreaker. Tony's going to ask you both a question. Let's turn that radio down.
4 for 5.
I love listening to us.
Man.
Let's air check.
Ooh, love that
Tony's
sound.
going to ask you both a question. It will have nothing to do with NFL nicknames. The person who comes closer to the right answer will win.
All right. You both a question.
Okay, turn the
Frank, you
radio
gotta
down,
turn the radio
please.
off.
Yes.
Turn it off.
That's a fine
It's
idea.
going to make it a lot better for all of us.
Barb, you're a troublemaker.
Oh, that's not me.
Oh, Frank, you're a troublemaker.
All right.
All right, kids. Here's the question. How many dinner plates were on board the Titanic when it sunk in 1912? How many dinner plates were on board?
Frank, what do you think?
I'm going to say 5,000.
5,000. Barb?
Well, let's go 5,001.
There it is.
Oh, that
Tony?
tactic. The answer is 12,000 dinner plates.
Wow. 12,000.
Wow.
That's a lot of dinner plates.
Yeah.
A lot of entrees.
Yeah, that's a lot of dinner plates for the 100 wealthy people. Jeez. Down in steerage, it was like, here's a cardboard box.
Yeah, well,
Live in this.
Well, they threw them away. They're disposable. They'd whip them out over the ocean and shoot them with shotguns.
That'd be great. All right, so looks like Barb with 5,001 is a little closer to 12,000. Barb, you got the tickets to see Jeff Dunham April 10th at the Target Center. Frank, thanks for playing, brother. Better luck next time.
Hey, thanks so much.
You got it. All right, then.
All right.
It was complete with NFL music in the background the whole time. That's always
I know,
exciting.
it kind of gets me fired up. I just want to go out in the parking lot and throw the ball around a little bit.
Let's do it.
But
My shoulder and my back, knees.
it really does. It really does have that effect, though. If anybody plays any CBS, like the NFL Today on CBS with Brent Musburger, you hear that theme music, you hear any Monday Night Football theme, any of those things, I'm immediately I start getting the shoulder warmed up. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a good day out there today. 651-989 Rock is the KQ Talk and text line. We have had a lot of text messages about UFOs, sightings and things. And I'm here's one. It says, I was about 13. My dad and I had our neighbors for a 4th of July party. We're all standing on the deck by the pool. Something came towards us. We all believed it was a firework about to explode. It just stopped in midair, and then it went back the way it came from, and it was gone. All happened in about 30 seconds. We all looked at each other. All said, oh, my God, did you see that? We agreed. Everyone saw the same thing. It was not a firework, and until this day, we've never known what it is.
Cool.
Yeah, all right. I'm down with that one. Elmwood, Wisconsin, the UFO capital, apparently.
Oh, yeah. I've been to the festival.
Have you really?
Are we talking
have
about
it every
unclothed
summer.
female objects? No.
Are we talking about what?
Nothing. Just making a distasteful joke about UFOs. Unclothed female objects? No. Hoping maybe to see one this weekend.
It's a different festival.
Yeah, you never know. We as we heard before, Aaron Rodgers, big UFO enthusiast, big ayahuasca enthusiast, big darkness retreat enthusiast, also plays football occasionally. He and his New York Jets are on their way to London, where they will be playing our Minnesota Vikings. And Aaron Rodgers, word on the street, his knee is a little dinged up.
Oh, yeah.
Limited in practice yesterday, so maybe that long flight to London is not going to be the best thing for a guy whose knee is already swollen, and maybe we're going to go out there and run roughshod over the Jets. We will see about that. Before we move on, I do want to give a quick shout out to Plymouth, Minnesota. Plymouth, what's happening out there on the west side, Plymouth? Just come on.
Keeping the wheels of commerce turning.
I got that's exactly right. I got one good buddy in Plymouth. Yeah. He's still in bed. Give him a shout out, but he won't hear it. That's just how that goes.
My favorite person that lives in Plymouth is Wally the Beer Man, and I guarantee he is awake.
Wally the Beer Man.
Yes.
Good morning, brother.
Beer, get your gold, beer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right on, Wally. Well, let's talk about the Vikings and the Jets going to London with our good buddy Sam Ekstrom. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
It's KQ Morning Show, and Sam Ekstrom is joining us right now. Sam has covered the Vikings since 2014. He's a host and executive producer with the Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcast Network, providing daily Vikings analysis on YouTube and your preferred podcast feed. And right now, he's with us on the horn. Sam, good morning, brother.
Good morning to you. London week. How about this?
I tell you what, man, I'm looking at the Vikings in London. They've been there 3 times, and they are 3-0. Is that just coincidence, luck of the draw, or is there something about this team and going across the pond?
Yeah, I know they've got a lot of fans overseas. For whatever reason, I think the Vikings actually have a pretty big international following, so it maybe feels like a home game when they go there. But I remember those 3 games. It was Pittsburgh in 13. That was the first time. Then it was Cleveland, and I think that was Cleveland's 0-16 year when they beat them in 2017. And then it was last year beating the Saints when the Saints double doinked it. Or 2 years ago, I think it was actually 2022 when the Saints missed a field goal and the Vikings won that game. So trying to continue the trend.
Well, I mean, historically, the Vikings have done well when they've invaded that island. I mean, they've done very well. I mean,
sometimes it's just that simple.
Yeah, right.
Sam, we hear, players begrudgingly accept their fate when they have to travel. Do they really care? It's certainly gotten easier for players to keep a schedule, and the games in London don't seem like they're as big a drag, or is that just better PR and the players actually hate this stuff?
I think about the conditions that they get to travel in. They're not squeezed into some small airline.
Sure,
like I remember we talked to Brian O'Neill, the tackle, about this a couple of years ago, and he said, guys, I'm going to recline, I'm going to watch a movie, and I'm going to take a good long nap, and it's going to be great. And I think that's probably true for a lot of players. They're going to get great seats, a lot of leg room. They're flying a private jet owned by the Wilfs. They're going to get there in like 6 hours. I think we probably overblow the effects. I think the sleep thing is maybe a little more relevant because you do have to adjust to the time change. And the Vikings prefer to fly a bit of a red-eye schedule, get there in the morning, and then practice right away to get the blood flowing. And then they have about 1 day to acclimate. So they're a late traveling team, and it's a little bit different than they used to do it. But they seem to have adapted well when they've done this in the past.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Sam Ekstrom's with us on the KQ Morning Show. Throughout training camp, Kevin O'Connell and anybody you talk to, they were saying all the right things about their confidence in Sam Darnold, and they're convinced that he's in the right place now. And every time I read one of those quotes, I was like, well, you have to say that. I mean, Of course they're going to say that. I guess they were actually feeling that way. They were really onto something. And I'm just thinking about Sam Darnold now going up against his former team the first 3 years of his career with New York, which were just, for the most part, abysmal. You know this game has to mean a lot to Sam Darnold. This is one game more than any other on the schedule he probably saw and thought, I got to get a win.
Yeah, I feel like we've been running into these revenge games a lot this year already. We obviously had the Stephon Diggs and Neil Hunter storylines a couple weeks ago. Aaron Jones with the Packers last week, and now Sam Darnold. And when it's a quarterback, it always just hits a little bit harder because Sam Darnold in the New York market was eviscerated. Think about the way that New York treats its stars. They did not treat Sam Darnold very well for 3 years, and that's not a good chapter of his life, I would imagine. So he probably wants to show up and going against Aaron Rodgers, no less, make a statement to that New York media. And you're right, Steve. I rolled my eyes right with you when I saw all of the quotes from training camp talking about how it was different this time. And credit to this coaching staff. It has been different, and it probably is even more incriminating for the Jets that they weren't able to squeeze anything more out of this guy who looks more than just competent, but legitimately good with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, I love a good chip on the shoulder when you bring it into a game. That might matter a little bit less against this Jets defense that's been playing pretty well and can bring the heat, and he's going to be overseas. So how's the Minnesota Vikings offensive line stack up against this Jets defense?
Yeah, the offensive line for the Vikings, I think, has been a pleasant surprise. Not perfect by any means. Sam Darnold had a couple games where he was pressured pretty heavily, but You had big questions about the interior, and I think they've held up pretty well. Blake Randall's been the new left guard. He's been great. Garrett Bradbury's been solid at center. I think the Jets' defense has not been greatly tested the past 3 weeks when you look at who they've played. They took on Tennessee, New England, and the Broncos.
Yeah.
And the Broncos couldn't throw the ball last week, and they still were able to run the ball through the Jets like a butter knife.
Right.
So when the Jets faced a legitimate opponent in Week 1 in San Francisco, they gave up 32 points. So I'm not as sold on the Jets' defense. I think they've got good pieces there. They've got a bunch of former first-round picks. Pat McKinley, Javon Kinlaw. Obviously, Sauce Gardner against Justin Jefferson is going to be the matchup on the boundary. They're excellent cornerbacks. But I think they're a little more susceptible on defense than you might think.
Sam Ekstrom's with us on the KQ Morning Show. The Vikings defense right now, just on a tear. 17 sacks. The second, 17 sacks right now, tied for first with 8 interceptions, second overall in takeaways. I mean, if you're the New York Jets, this is the kind of defense. The Jets have a highly ranked defense, but they have played a bunch of powder cake offenses. The Vikings have been shutting down some pretty good units. If you're the Jets offensive coordinator, you're not sleeping this week.
No, you're scouring the film, trying to figure out, like, what is the tell on this Brian Flores defense? How can I know where the pressure is coming from? Because he disguises everything so well. Mm-hmm. I don't think the Jets are going to gift wrap giveaways or interceptions to the Vikings the way that other teams have. The Vikings have faced some young quarterbacks, good quarterbacks, the young quarterbacks who might be a little more mistake-prone than Aaron Rodgers. I watched Aaron Rodgers' tape back from last week. I still think there's a lot of good stuff in that arm, and he doesn't make a lot of terrible mistakes. He's only thrown 1 interception this year. Historically, he just never throws interceptions. He takes care of the ball. So I don't think the Vikings can count on the takeaways as much this week. They're just going to have to play sound defensively against an offense that really hasn't done very well this year with Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback. There's been no explosiveness from Garrett Wilson. Their running back, Breece Hall, has been totally bottled up. So I think the Vikings are licking their chops again to face a quarterback who's aging, who's immobile, who popped up on the injury report with a knee. They're going to be hassling him and trying to test him to see if he's willing to run out of the pocket, because this is 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers now, 40 years old, and he doesn't move coming off an Achilles the way he used to.
No, and he loves the blitz. Aaron Rodgers historically has been one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the NFL against the blitz. He loves it, but he doesn't have the mobility. I think you got to get to him. I know teams like to blitz Aaron Rodgers less, but that's not how this Vikings defense is built. And boy, if you just can give him a little bit of pressure, like you said, and the New York Jets are eating themselves there in New York, and Wilson's unhappy, and they're all kind of chirping each other. They're 2-2. There's a lot of pressure to get a win before they head back home. You don't want to go back home with a losing field. The only thing that bothers me about this game is that it should be a slam dunk. The Vikings should win this thing they should win it on both sides of the ball. It should not a cakewalk, but it should be a win 9 out of 10 times, and that's what bothers me about this game a little bit.
Yeah, well, this is what bothers me is kind of what you're saying, Zepp, in that the Jets played such a bad game last week. They had 13 penalties. Rodgers got sacked 5 times. They lost to a team that threw for about 60 yards in the Denver Broncos with a rookie quarterback at home. So
talking about a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah, and it's Aaron Rodgers, right? Like, Aaron Rodgers has a way, I think, of channeling that and bouncing back in a way that other quarterbacks can't. That's what you worry about. You worry about the response from New York. Did they go back to the drawing board? Did they come up with something new or creative that they haven't put on film yet? That's what I think you have to worry about. But Aaron Rodgers, every year, guys, he's always disgruntled about something. It's whether it's the Packers and Matt LaFleur, whether it's his young receivers, whether it's his contract, whether it's Jordan Love being drafted while he was still on the team. Now he's upset at Robert Saleh, apparently, because Robert Saleh criticized the offensive cadence after that loss to Denver, and Rodgers kind of chirped back. So Rodgers he's not a very content guy. He's a fierce competitor, but I feel like he's kind of embittered right now. He's not thrilled with the way this 2024 season is going for him. And at 2-2, this is maybe a big turning point in the Jets season.
Sam, Rodgers is 96 yards short of 60,000, and he's 74 yards shy of Dan Marino for 7th yards all time. How important are these kind of things to him? I mean, you're supposed to say it's all about the team, it's all about winning championships. I don't hear Aaron Rodgers talk about Super Bowls that often. Is he driven by personal acclaim? I mean, does passing Dan Marino, is that something that in his heart of hearts, does he even care? Because he does seem awfully aloof at times about football itself.
Yeah, Rodgers is an interesting guy. We know this about him. He's got a Netflix documentary coming out about himself. Maybe we'll learn even more weird stuff. I gotta imagine that when you've been in the league for this long and you've got your name next to the greats in NFL history, that has to mean a little something to you. Dan Marino, Tom Brady, Joe Montana, these are the legends that came before him. I'm sure it means something to him, but Aaron Rodgers, if you think about his last 15 years, actually pretty frustrating from a football standpoint. Yeah. When you think about legacy, the Packers were good enough to win 3, 4, 5 Super Bowls. They were right there so many times and fell short. Rodgers got that one Super Bowl very, very early and has not gotten back since. With
and
a lot of heartbreak
play well in a lot of those playoff games, especially especially his last several years in Green Bay. Yeah, he didn't. Play well personally during MVP seasons. Yeah,
go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just going to say he was having MVP seasons. The only quarterback, by the way, I've ever heard mention that he was an MVP while he was still playing. But during those MVP years, he would pull up big boners in the playoffs.
Yeah, I can remember a bunch of them, like against San Francisco a handful of times, losing as a 1 seed to New York, losing in overtime to Arizona. There have been some big whiffs by Green Bay in the postseason. So Rodgers probably thinks, man, my legacy is not cemented at all by the Super Bowl count, so I got to rack up the stats if I really want to make my mark on this league long term.
Sam Ekstrom's with us on the KQ Morning Show talking about Minnesota in London, a home game in London against the New York Jets this Sunday. I'm going to echo Zepp's point. It just looks on paper like this should absolutely be a win for the Vikings. So with that said, what do you think? What's your prediction for the game?
I'm going to stick with the purple, and I've been picking a lot of close final scores. I'm going to actually give the Vikings a little bit of breathing room in this one. I'm going to say 26-13. I think it's a sound performance on both sides of the ball. Vikings by almost 2 touchdowns.
Wow, that'll be great to see if it happens. If they do come home 5-0, and then they've got Detroit coming in next week. I mean, it was kind of inconceivable just 6 weeks ago. We were looking at the schedule. If somebody had said they'll be undefeated by the time Detroit comes in, I would have laughed. I think we all would have. So, suffice to say, this is continuing to be a really, really great season. And the more you look at the stats, especially with that defense, I don't feel like these are anomalous wins. Minnesota, I just read this morning, they are hitting opposing rushers behind the line of scrimmage on over 50% of the runs against them. They've only allowed 20 yards before contact. This is a tremendous defense. I mean, it's a real defense, not smoke and mirrors. So I'm feeling pretty bullish, and I love the big pick, Sam. The double points, double-digit win for the Vikings. Let's hope that when we're talking about this next week, we're all talking about what a genius you are.
I hope that's the case. It rarely is. And hey, Detroit's not going anywhere. If you saw them Monday night, they're legit. They're still a team to beat in this division. So the Vikings need to keep winning to keep up, I think, with that Lions team.
Yeah, no question about it. Sam, it's always our pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks a lot.
You got it. The Scorpions, we heard them earlier this hour. Scorpions heading to Las Vegas with Coming Home to Las Vegas, 60 Years of the Scorpions residency. It opens February 27th at Planet Hollywood Resort and Casino. You can score a trip for 2. That features round-trip air, a 2-night stay, tickets to opening night, and more. Text the national keyword CHANGE to 95819 for a chance to win. Text change to 95819, and maybe you will be heading to Vegas in February. The top 5 at 9 coming up. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. It's the KQ Morning Show. Steve, Zepp, Tony, and Ryder on Minnesota's classic rock. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. That was Van Halen, and they were not kidding around. Man, that is still a visceral experience listening to that, especially that first record. I will go anytime, day or night, put it on, I'll listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, that was my game changer. That was our generation, I think Gen X. That's where we separated from all those great 60s, 70s bands.
Yep.
And we knew we had finally our own great band.
That's exactly right. The real guitar hero that had no ties to the old days.
Yeah.
The old days of the mid-70s. No, this is late 70s.
I remember he was upsetting some guitar purists, like Clapton came out and said something like that. There are rules to play guitar. I'm like, shut up, Eric Clapton.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, there are no rules. There's Eddie Van Halen breaking all the rules.
Eddie Van Halen's an alien. That's what Eric Clapton couldn't accept. He's an alien. Eddie Van Halen landed in Pasadena, California, not from the Netherlands, but from space. And I will not hear anything different. We've been talking about UFOs, and apparently we've got a caller who's got an actual alien encounter that he would love to share with us, which I am all ears. Jack, are you with us, sir?
Yes, sir, I am.
Thank you for waiting, and I am on the edge of my seat. What have you got for us?
Well, me and my mom and her boyfriend decided to take a trip around Lake Superior before we moved out to Afton, Wyoming. So we just got back into the UP, stopped at a campground to camp out for the night.
Okay, Jack, what year about this? What are we talking about?
85, 86.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, I was probably about 14, 15 years old. No substance abuse at the time.
Yep.
So I had to get away from the rents, so I went down to the river by myself, playing around. It's kind of getting to be dusk. I look across the river, and about 25, 30 yards away, this little thing about 3 foot tall, really skinny, gray, big black eyes, hanging onto a sapling, sitting there watching me. It didn't have the big head. It had a small head. It looked like a shaved monkey.
Okay.
I looked at it. I wear contacts, so I cleared my contacts a few times, blinked. I'm like, yep, I'm seeing what I'm seeing here.
Yeah.
I looked down for a second to step out of the river. I looked back, and it was gone. You never seen a fat kid fly so fast. Got back to camp, told them. Of course, they didn't believe me, and I didn't get any sleep because, well, tent ain't going to protect you from much.
Yeah. Wow.
So, that's my story.
That's a pretty darn good one, man. I like it.
Yeah, scared the crap out of me.
No noises, though? No sounds?
No noises, no thoughts in my head to freeze and not move or anything like that. But, yeah, it was my first encounter.
Yeah.
Anything come to you in your dreams, or have you had any sightings since then?
Not that I can remember at the time.
And you've never reasoned since 1985, like, I bet that's what I saw, or they've got one of those. Yeah.
Believe me, brother, I've thought about stuff, and it's like it couldn't have been anything else. It couldn't have been an animal. It wasn't. It was either an alien or a demon. One of the two. It wasn't all natural.
Man, that's a wild one. Well, yeah, I'm digging it, man. Thank you for waiting, Jack, and thanks for sharing that story. I don't know what to say other than I'm kind of glad it wasn't me. That's terrifying. Thanks, man.
All right, guys. Have a great weekend.
See you. You too.
I mean, that sounds like a normal dude. It's a dude right there.
Totally sincere.
There's enough out there, and we listened to a Navy pilot earlier, and they're testifying in front of Congress, and there was 8 of them that came out. Just about every astronaut that's come out of space has said, "Oh yeah, we saw crap, man. We don't even want to talk about it because we don't sound like lunatics. Half the weirdos out there think the moon landings were faked as it is, but there's enough out there that I think I lean towards Tony's camp, but there again, then there's that Midwestern guy in me that's like, just frickin' let's get to it. Get to the part where we get to meet you. I'm going to end up dying just still wondering, which isn't going to bother me that much, but what's all this pissing around? Come on, let's get to it. Let's get a meeting going on.
Wouldn't it be funny and ironic if an alien decided to show him to you this weekend in Brainerd and then killed you? Because you're like, I don't want to die before I know. Now you know.
That would be hilarious.
I dare you, aliens, to show up to Brainerd to Craigan's this weekend and kill me. I dare you.
We'll be on the air Monday. We'll be laughing. Remember when Zepp was still alive before that alien killed him? That guy was awesome.
It'd be worth it, and it would take care of that whole issue of me starting my 401k late. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
A quick checkout wouldn't be a bad thing.
There's always a silver lining. On the opposite side of the spectrum, here's a text. I seen 3 people in the Mall of America back in the 80s. 2 of them dressed weird. June Cleaver. I don't know. So I'm just reading the text. Holding hands with a weird dressed shorter one who walked past me, and it lowered its shades and blinked her eyes. They opened sideways.
Oh, lizard eyes.
So
the
you got
lizard
lizard
people.
eyes aliens in the Mall of America in the 80s.
All right.
The Mall of America wasn't there in the 80s. It wasn't built till 92.
Thank you.
Which makes it even weirder.
Well, listen, if aliens can't time travel, then what's the point? That's what I'm saying.
I just like to. I'm just proud that there's still day drinking going on out there. Clearly. I don't know what's going on with that one. Yeah, that's weird.
We had a saying in the Marine Corps. Another text came in. I was a helicopter crew chief. We used to say, anything can be a UFO if you suck at identifying stuff.
Well, I mean, it is an identified flying object.
There it is.
And, our own government out there, we're flying crap around. What is it? Area 51?
Mm-hmm.
2? Out
That's
there?
one of them.
Heinz 57 out there in the desert. They're flying crap around out there they're not telling us about. And I think there are some sightings out there that are probably just, technology that we haven't gotten around to or whatever. But, that doesn't cover all of the sightings we're talking about.
No, not even close. All right, let's get to the top 5 at 9. The 5 things you need to get your day off on the right foot. Leaves are starting to fall from trees, and that's a good thing. Bag them up, but don't put them down at the curb. Bring them inside because there's a toilet paper crush. There's a bunch of, a whole lot of our friends and neighbors are stockpiling toilet paper. This is spring of 2020 level pandemic, like freak out toilet paper hoarding. Not because of a pandemic, but there's a major port strike that started on Tuesday. Several of the big ports in America have shut down. The the stevedores, the longshoremen, the union just said, hey, we're going to show you how important we are. There's only one problem with this concept. 90% of the toilet paper sold in this country is a domestic product. It's not coming in the ports. It's already here. Of all the things to freak out about, stop freaking out about toilet paper. We all need it.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to be hoarding auto parts, aren't you?
Auto parts makes more sense.
Thermostats, that sort of thing. We have the head of the Longshoremen Union, Tony Soprano, talking about shutting down the ports.
Now you start to realize who the longshoremen are, right? People never gave a about us until now, when they finally realized that the chain is being broke now.
Yeah.
A slice of gabagool.
Yeah.
This guy, for crying out loud. But yeah, I mean, it's good for them. I mean, I support the workers or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't know too much about it, except that they say it is costing America, or I don't know, whoever, the businesses $4.5 billion a day.
That's a lot. That's an awful lot. If you are wondering what this strike could shut down on, that it's not your toilet paper, but it could be your bananas. Bananas are going to be impacted. So if you see some extra bananas, maybe go grab those. Leave the toilet paper. Yeah. We are all going to need it.
We can wipe our asses. It's apple season anyway.
That's right. Exactly. Give nature's batteries a break. I just remember as a kid, someone said, that banana, that's nature's batteries.
Oh, okay.
And I wish I had forgotten it, but it always comes back to mind. That's all you need. Got yourself a banana, you'll be fine. Number 4 on your top 5 at 9. We, over the last few years, state after state, Minnesota included, is allowing online gambling for, like you've got the wagering sites. I play Underdog Fantasy all the time. I talk about it on the show all the time. It's a lot of fun. Now, a federal appeals court has declined to block a lower court's decision that allowed betting on the 2024 federal elections. You can legally wager on the federal elections now.
I'm upping my bet from earlier from 1,000 to 5,000 on America to lose.
Okay. The only winner is your bookie. Yeah. America will lose the election. Right. You can seriously get odds. That's funny because I've always said if you ever go to England, it's striking. The off-site betting parlors, like in Britain, sports wagering is as all in, it's like I was gonna say all American. It's as much a part of the process as simply watching the game.
Yeah,
it's always been that way. I always said you can get odds on anything in England, and we're catching up pretty fast. It's like all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, really, that's kind of where we're headed pretty quick. People love to put a little action on the action.
Yeah, when you see the commentators on these NFL football games now, and I know this is sponsored and paid for, but they're starting to work it in too. Well, it looks like they got a shot at making the over here, and I'm like, what did he just say? Is he talking about the over there? But yeah, it's off and running. Bet on your election. Bet on any old thing. Bet on who's going to pass out first at the broadcast tomorrow.
You can certainly.
Is it going to be a listener or an employee?
Oh man, hi. You know what? Start taking action. Let me know where we are when 6 a.m. I want to see where the odds are, because we can make it. We can make some winners out of you. Little insider trading going on, if you know what I'm saying. I grew up in the 70s as you did, and as you did, Tony, and I lived in a house where we didn't watch the pregame on CBS because that Jimmy the Greek, he's just a degenerate gambler. How funny was that? Like, think about just how different it was. Anyway, here's a bet for you. Number 3 on your top 5 at 9. I'll bet you the Twins aren't going to be on TV next year.
Yeah, this Bally's, boy, you guys have. I've been going off on Bally's. Of course, the wild season coming around here, and you've got to get Bally's, and it's a little janky. It's another streaming service you got to get the games. ESPN Plus will give you a surprising amount of wild games. I mean, it's more than one a month. But I have no love loss for Bally's.
Mm-hmm. Bally Sports North. If they don't get a new deal with the Twins will be wondering who's going to air their games. It looks like Bally is only going to carry the Atlanta Braves next season as of right now. A federal bankruptcy judge Wednesday morning was given a new plan for reorganization that does include simply the Atlanta Braves and nobody else. Bally Sports is just from the looks of it, from where I sit, it's a bit of a grease fire.
It is a grease fire. I mean, it's not what we want. I just want it on there. It's got to be on a streaming service, which Bally's is, but it's janky, and you can't travel with it. If you go out of town for the weekend and you want to watch the game, you can't watch it because you're out of market. And Bally's. I'm ready for the next thing, whatever that is.
Number 2 on your top 5 at 9, Roger Waters and David Gilmour, Pink Floyd members, have been at each other's throat for decades. They do not get along. They do not like each other. They don't really even apparently have a lot of respect for each other. If you read their interviews, I mean, I saw something David Gilmour the other day said, everybody wants to talk about the records we made in the 70s. He goes, I was in my 20s then. I'm in my 70s now. How is it relevant to my life? And I totally get that. So these guys have been arguing over Pink Floyd since the 70s. They just don't see eye to eye. I think they can see eye to eye now that it was all worth it because they have sold their albums as well as the rights to Pink Floyd's name and likeness to Sony Music for $400 million. So it's a great day to have been in Pink Floyd, is what I can say.
So $400 million for half of it.
Pretty much. Yeah. Sony is still Sony, we talked about the Queen catalog was $1.2 billion. That did include, I believe, the publishing. It just goes to show, the greatest time to have been a giant rock star was a long time ago. Because you can sit back and now still make more money than you ever made by simply signing a piece of paper. Bob Dylan sold his publishing to Universal for $300 million recently. His catalog went to Sony for $200. His publishing went to Universal for $300. I mean, it's just astronomical figures here. And I always come back to the same thing. Okay, so if Queen's worth $1 billion, what's Led Zeppelin worth? Right. And whatever Led Zeppelin's worth, what are the Beatles worth? Billions and billions of dollars.
And
You'd have to think.
I mean, I think those bands are, outside of this, right? They ascend past this. You don't ever see Zeppelin or the Beatles, McCartney, or anyone ever selling, do you?
No, I can't.
Happen.
No, I don't think. I think two guys, Jimmy Page and Paul McCartney, will never. They'll put it in there. No, not only are we not selling, but my 7th generation grandchild will not be allowed to sell. This is family stuff. These are family businesses. Certainly, the way those two bands have operated for many decades now. Finally, number 1 on your top 5 at 9. Sam Dutcher is an 18-year-old kid, and he was driving in Harwood, that's 10 miles north of Fargo, the other night, in his Honda Pilot SUV, and he found himself with a little bit of trouble. His car would not slow down, and in fact, it kept speeding up, racing up to 113 miles an hour. Here's a bit of a news clip to explain what happened.
Dutcher called 911, reporting his Honda Pilot was speeding up uncontrollably.
If you hit the brakes, nothing happens.
Even calling his mom in these harrowing moments.
Honestly, I was like, my kid's probably dead, but I was like, God, please don't kill my kid. Please don't.
State Patrol Trooper Zach Groover and Clay County deputies tried spike strips.
Did the tires get popped?
But failed.
Yeah, I'll try to get in front of you and add a little extra brake power.
Eventually, getting in front of Dutcher. Trooper Groover reaching 130 miles per hour.
Yes, run into the back of his car.
Using their squads to physically stop the SUV.
Hold them.
A more than 30-mile ride, ending in about 20 minutes. With everyone okay.
It's scary to watch that video.
That's a proud Clay County Sheriff, Mark Empting.
We don't train for something like this, but instincts took over and everybody did a fantastic job.
Can I hug you?
So
our citizens are behind you all the way, officer.
State trooper pulled in front of him. The kid rammed into his car, and then I guess they slowed it down that way. I asked earlier, why wouldn't you be able to put the car in neutral as you're driving, if it's accelerating? There's a text that came in. The reason that vehicle couldn't get put into neutral, these newer vehicles with electronic transmissions or turn dial transmissions are all electrical. Turning the dial into neutral wasn't working.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. It seems to me I read something like that somewhere. I don't know, but we got a lot of motorheads that listen, and there's your answer right there. Well, that's a hell of a deal. You don't hear about that very often, but now all's well that ends well under that scenario. How exciting for that kid. He got to do the strips there. They took the tires out. He's whipping through these towns at over 100 miles an hour, and then you get to crash into a trooper car. That's a story.
Just like a video game.
Just like a video game.
Yeah.
If he could just, beat a hooker with a tire iron, he'd advance to the next level.
Yeah.
Anytime I'm returning, when you travel, every time you return a rental car, you go through that thing in the garage and the ramp where it's like, don't back up, the tire damage thing if you're leaving or anything. And every time I do that, I will still stop and make sure. And I have a weird fear that, like, I'm somehow going the wrong way.
Me too.
Every time
check.
it really freaks me out. And I stop. I'm like, no, I'm going the right way. Okay. But this kid's doing 100 and he blasts over those strips and just keeps going. I mean, that's like, wow. That would mess me up for a long time.
That's Smokey and the Bandit.
That is Smokey and the Bandit stuff right there.
I don't think I'd call my mom during it, though. She would just be freaking out.
I'm trying to think. When I was 18, if I'd called my mom on a cell phone, I would have had to explain to her what a cell phone is. So yeah, that was never going to happen.
Get the KQ Morning Show podcast wherever you listen. 92 KQRS.